Hello everybody, and welcome to the first video of my new video series. This is just going to be a tutorial on how to install, configure, and use Windows 10. Now, as you can probably tell, I'm pretty doggone sick today, so that's kind of why I have nothing better to do with my time. I think my sickness combined maybe with a hardware issue is causing my mic to clip a little bit, so I'm sorry for that. I'm working on a fix. Um, I'm going to try and not cough directly into the microphone anytime soon. Um, so today I'm just going to cover how to install and configure Windows 10. Now while this boots up in my virtual machine, I really don't know why it's going so slow, but while it boots up in my virtual machine, I'm going to tell you how to set up the installation media to install Windows 10. Now, if you downloaded Windows 10 from Microsoft.com, you have two options. You can either burn it to a DVD, which is fairly easy to do provided you have a disk drive. However, more and more often now, especially with laptops, computers are just not coming with a disk drive. They're kind of going obsolete. So what a lot of people will do is install it on a USB drive. There's my Windows setup screen. Okay, it seems to be running quickly now. So I'll just open up Google Chrome here really quick. And let's go to Windows, sure, Windows.com, that's good enough. Okay, so what we want to look at here is Windows 10, get Windows 10, and typically, for most people, just getting the home edition of Windows 10 will be good enough. But the best thing to do is definitely get the professional version, especially if you plan to use your computer at work and if your work network uses a domain. The home edition of Windows cannot be joined to a domain, so the professional version is the one that I prefer because at least at my work you have to be on a domain. Um, and as a domain administrator, I've had to tell people a time or two that, yeah, you're going to have to upgrade to Windows 10 Professional in order to be able to use your computer at work, just because it cannot be joined to the domain in the Home Edition. And I'm pretty sure you have to buy the entire Windows 10 Pro Edition just in order to upgrade from Windows 10 Home. So if you had Windows 7 Pro and you upgraded to Windows 10, then you have Windows 10 Pro. The way you can check this is just hit your start button and then type computer or this PC, and that will open up, let me collapse a few windows here. Okay, so that will open up this, and you can just right click in the empty space and click properties, and that will bring up your system information, which is good. It's very nice. You can see I have Windows 10 Home on this machine, so I could not join this to a domain if I wanted to. I have access to a copy of Windows 10 Professional, but I just don't need it. So this is where you can find out Windows 10 Home right here is what you're looking for. And what you would do if you have Windows 10 and you're trying to get Windows 10 Pro is you just go down here and click Change Product Key and enter the product key that you purchased, and it would automatically upgrade you to Windows 10 Pro. And that gives you access, or that gives you the ability to join the domain, as well as a whole bunch of other features. But let's say you wanted Windows 10 Home, and you would say download. Yeah, the download, you can choose the download option or you can choose a USB flash drive option. The download option is the fastest and easiest, provided that you already have either a DVD or a USB flash drive. So you would just hit buy and download now. You'd go through all of that, and that would show, or that would come up. Now let's go. Let's go to my user folder, and I thought I had it in here. Let's look for Windows 10. Huh. Well, let's see. So here I have Windows 10 64-bit right here. Um, if you download it, this is what you'll see. It's just a disk image file. If you try and run it, I think you can actually run it directly from your computer if you plan to do an upgrade. But the best thing you can do is do what's called a clean installation by burning it to either a disk or a USB drive. And what you have to do then is configure your BIOS settings to burn or to boot from that drive. And I know that sounds complicated, especially if you've never done this sort of thing before. If you don't know what BIOS is, don't panic. When you first turn your computer on, you see a splash screen that usually says the name of your computer, or at least the name of the motherboard. On that screen, you should see options that say hit F2, hit F9, F10, or hit delete to enter boot menu or setup menu. Once you get to there, then you can choose different boot options. Um, with your flash drive plugged in, you would want to do that, and then you can just select the flash drive and boot from that. I may try and cover that in another video, but today we're just going to focus on, we're just going to say, okay, you already have Windows, you already know how to get it to boot to this point, and we're just going to go through the setup and configuration so that you can get the best experience possible from your Windows installation. So the first screen you saw was the part where you select your language and keyboard settings and all of that. If you use anything different, you just choose those options. Then you click Install Now. Now I'm not going to waste my product key on this virtual installation, but you you will enter your product key at some point. Yeah, it's right here. So you would enter your product key at this point. I'm just going to hit skip. The product key should either be sent to you in an email if you bought the downloaded version, or if you bought it from the store or you bought the USB option, then it should be on the packaging. And it might even still be sent to you in an email. So if it's in an email, you can just copy and paste. Oh, well, I guess you can't because you'll just be booting it onto your computer. You'll just type in the product key here, and it's very easy. It's usually just some letters and numbers, and you type it in, and then just make sure it's correct and hit next. I'm just gonna hit skip, but it'll then verify the product key, and that's it. So you accept the license terms. If you want to read them, you can. Basically, it states that by using this, you're agreeing to let Microsoft collect some information about you. In steps after this, we will get to choose what information, well, some of that information. So it says you have two options here. So if you're coming from Windows 7 or you're installing a professional version of Windows 10 in place of a uh, Windows 10 installation, you might want to choose upgrade so you can keep all your files. However, the danger of doing this is that I've seen it happen several times. For some reason, Windows 10 does not overwrite the original recovery partition with a new recovery partition. So what happens if you have any kind of error during startup, you can get stuck in a boot loop because it's going to constantly be trying to restore Windows 10 using the Windows 7 recovery partition, and it just doesn't know what to do, so it keeps telling you there was a problem while trying to repair your computer, and it just will not work. So what I do is I go to custom, and it says advanced users only. If you already had an operating system installed, this will not be just unallocated space. You'll have a bunch of drives here. You can just delete all of those drives until you have this unallocated space right here. And then you click next, and it goes through the installation process. It should be pretty quick on this because this is a virtual hard drive. While this is happening, I'm going to talk about what we'll do next. It covers the privacy settings while you're configuring Windows, and it also does the it helps configure just your user experience, and it helps make it more streamlined and easier to use. So at this point, I'm just going to stop talking and speed up the video and let it install. So I'll check back in about 10 minutes. Alright, you guys, it looks like we're coming back. Um, hopefully, when this boots up, we'll be good to go. Um, One other thing I wanted to mention is that this is going to be part one of a series on how to use Windows safely and use it properly. With Windows 10, they introduced a whole lot more internet services, including Cortana, which Cortana is not as bad as some of the other services like Siri, Google Now, or Amazon Echo or Alexa that are just constantly listening to you. But she does listen, and she does report back to Microsoft, and that's that's something that bothers me. Um, I have private conversations that I don't want to receive advertising for. Um, I'm sure everybody does. And one common thing that gets thrown around a lot is, "Oh, I have nothing to hide, so let them watch me." But everybody's got something to hide. You don't have to break the law or do anything wrong to have something to hide. You should definitely respect your own privacy and the privacy of other people. Um, and that's just something that's being perpetuated now is, "Oh, I have nothing to hide, so let them come, let them watch me, let them listen to me." But I mean, there's stuff you can watch people through their webcam. I mean, you don't want somebody watching you sleep or listening to every conversation you have. I know I don't. Um, so hopefully throughout this series, I'll be able to show you at least how to get most of that taken care of. Using Windows at all kind of just signs you up for letting people watch you and listen to you. It's the most commonly used operating system in the world, and so it's the most commonly hacked. I'm not talking about the NSA. I truly believe they're a force for good. I truly believe that they listen to people, um, and for the most part just don't care what you're doing. However, it's that one time that they make a mistake, or it's so easy to manipulate this data that somebody else could intercept it and frame you for something, and they don't have to know you. If you think, "Oh, nobody's out to get me, uh, so I'm fine," somebody's out to get you. Not personally, not because they hate you specifically, but because they don't want to get caught. There's things called botnets where they take over your computer and they make your computer do all kinds of crazy things. And sometimes they can detect, "Oh, well, this computer was part of a botnet and was therefore it's not the owner's fault. It's not the owner's responsibility." However, not always. It's not always the case. Somebody can and will. Well, they might not, but somebody can and they they do frame people for things using botnets and other software designed to hijack your computer, so that way they can do something on your computer, make it look like you did it, and it makes it a lot harder to find them. And even if you do somehow prove that, "Oh, my computer was hijacked," it's still a process that nobody wants to go through. It's like, "Oh, I have," that's like saying, "Oh, I have homeowners insurance, so I don't care if somebody burns my house to the ground." Of course you would care. That's your livelihood. So of course you would care if somebody hijacked your computer and put you through this whole rigmarole where you have to listen to lawyers and different police officers and law enforcement agencies, and it's just not something that anybody should want to go through. So you should take steps to protect yourself from it, because more and more often it is happening. Um, Microsoft tries to come bundled with a halfway decent security program. I don't really like Windows Defender all that much, but if nothing else, if you're not going to put anything else, you should have at least Windows Defender or something on your computer running to try and prevent live attacks and to try and prevent you from downloading software accidentally. But yeah, so that's my little spiel about privacy and security. So let's get into the nitty gritty of it here. And it all begins with how you set up your Windows installation. Believe it or not, there's options right off the bat that allow you to say, "Yes, Microsoft, you can have all my information," or, "No, Microsoft, you can only take anonymous information to use for diagnostic purposes," which is usually a pretty good thing. They want their operating system and their computers to run as best as possible. So of course they want to take some information from you, how you use it, what goes wrong, things like that, so that they can fix things. Otherwise, they might not ever know that things are wrong. Okay, it looks like we're restarting yet again. This is taking a lot longer than I anticipated. I figured out why. It's because OBS, the software I'm using to record my screen, is using about 50% of my CPU. I'm running an old Core i5, I think 5200 or 5300. I don't know. I think it's an Ivy Bridge processor. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And it's overclocked to like 4 gigahertz, but even still, it's an old processor. I didn't know that OBS used the CPU, but I guess it makes sense since most people use it to record gaming, and gaming is intense on your GPU, not your CPU. So it makes sense that it would use the CPU and try to take some of the load off of the GPU. So it looks like, oh, we're at a black screen. So if you get to this point and you see a black screen, don't panic, I guess. It is installing. It will get there. I'm sure I'll have some error pop up and say that Windows isn't registered. Even if you don't have a product key yet and you somehow obtain a copy of Windows, hopefully you're doing it through at least semi-legal means and you're, borrowing your friend's disk to install Windows. That's okay to do. There's a time period that you can use Windows without a product key fully featured. And, eventually it'll time out and it won't let you install programs from Microsoft. And I mean, you can use it beyond that period, but it's just not very functional. I don't even think you can take updates, so that leaves you open to security risks as well. But uh, there is like a grace period of sorts. For if you had like a network connection issue or something, and you couldn't register your product key. Well, Microsoft has protocols in place to allow you to use your computer while you get your product key and get everything squared away. I would never advocate using a pirated copy of Windows because more often than not that comes bundled with malware embedded in your Windows installation. Okay, so here it's asking me for the product key again. I'll just say do this later. Alright, here is where they start to get you a little bit. So it says get going fast. Change these at any time. Select use express settings to all this stuff. And of course, you want to click use express settings, right? Because that's the fastest thing. Don't do that. I would advise you to even click learn more so you can learn exactly what's going on. But at least for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to click customize settings. So this personalization. Personalize your speech, typing, and inking input by sending contacts and calendar details along with other associated input data to Microsoft. No, don't do that. Don't send this stuff. Don't let apps use your advertising ID. That is information that is unique to you. I have to cough. Hold on, I'm going to mute it. All right, I'm back. Yeah, you don't want to let apps use your advertising ID. That's information that is unique to you. So these advertising agencies, these advertising companies, Google or whoever Microsoft sends your information to, sells your information to, is getting access to this. And that's a whole other issue. Is maybe you really, really don't mind. Maybe you don't even mind if somebody is using your computer to do something illicit or illegal. But what you should care about is the fact that somebody else is profiting off of you just using your computer. You are getting nothing out of it. You should be entitled to some sort of compensation or at least have the ability to turn it off because you paid up to $199 for this copy of Windows. You paid for this product. So how dare they sell your information to somebody else after you've already paid for it? Either you should be getting paid or they should not be doing it. And I understand they want to make their profits soar. That's the way of capitalism. But they need to give an option to totally opt out. Even switching this off does not totally prevent them from collecting information. Now, on a desktop, more often than not, you'll want to turn your location off because you're pretty much always going to be in the same location and you're not going to get stuff relevant to you. Now, if you're on a tablet or a laptop, you may want location on if you're going to use maps or anything like that or try and find what's around you. I turn it off. It's just something I don't use on my computers. I have a smartphone. I keep location turned off on it until I need it, but that's mostly just for battery life. For the most part, people don't watch your location. I have all the search history and location history turned off just because I'm nuts. But leaving location turned off on a desktop is a pretty good idea, just so nobody's collecting your information that isn't even relevant, doesn't even matter. So go ahead and click next. Browser and protection. So you can switch all of this off because we are not going to use um, uh, Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge at all. So I have Smart Screen turned off, Page Prediction turned off, Connectivity and Error reported turned off. Yeah, you don't want to automatically connect to suggested open hotspots. It even tells you not all networks are secure. You don't want to be doing banking in a coffee shop because it's so easy to sniff that information and just grab it, and then they have your banking information. Or one thing that's most commonly stolen is medical information, medical records, because it's highly personalized to you, and it's not that secure, and it doesn't change. It's really difficult to get that history erased because it's something that's important to everyone. You don't want to lose your medical history, so you don't want to let it be compromised. So then the connectivity and error reporting. Oh yeah, we already switched off open hotspots. Connect to networks shared by your contacts. Who knows who you're going to have in your contacts list? That one email you got from that obscure address that you accidentally saved to your contacts may share a network with you that if you by chance connect to it one day is going to steal everything. So don't do that. Um, the reason they have this in here is, say you go to your friend's house and they're also a Microsoft user, and they have this turned on to share it with you, and you have it turned on to share it with them. Well, you don't have to type in their wireless password to get on their network. However, if somebody else hijacks their computer from the internet, they also don't have to type in their wireless password to get on their network, and so it's just really unsecure. I mean, it's convenient, but it's really unsecure. And then this is another thing they kind of hide from you. So it says send error and diagnostic information to Microsoft. And if you didn't read all this, you would never know that this is here. You would just click next. But you can see, you're like, oh, well, where's the toggle for that? You have to scroll down even to see it because they really, really want you to send the error and diagnostic information to Microsoft. Now, you can allow this if you want to. I don't, because most of the stuff that goes wrong with my computer, I know how to fix it. And when I don't, I know how to find out how to fix it. But if you don't exactly know what you're doing and you want Microsoft to be able to collect your information, so when you call tech support, they can tell you exactly what's wrong with your computer, you can leave this on. It's probably not going to hurt anything. Click next. It says just a moment. My favorite thing is here in a bit, it should say like we've made some improvements or something like that. And I'm like, who's we? Like, it doesn't say. They never say who we is. Is we Microsoft? Is we the developers at Microsoft? Is we, I don't know, terrorists? They never specify. It's this obscure we, and it's kind of terrifying. I don't know. It was unsettling to me the first time I saw it. Now, if you're not installing Windows 10, say you're installing Windows 8.1, 8.0, or Windows 7, this process is going to be fairly similar. You may have more control over the information that they collect from you, especially back in Windows 7. In Windows 10, they kind of made you automatically opt into a lot of things. So here it's restarting again. Boy, this is going to be a long video. Hopefully the other videos that I make in this series won't be quite as long. This is just the first one, and installations can take a long time, especially when you're running recording software that's using 50% of your CPU. Just a moment, it says. Like, why did they get rid of please wait? Because just a moment is really, really short, and it's already been several moments. So why not just say loading, please wait? Like, that seems more polite than just a moment. Just a moment. Seems rude almost. So they're trying to make the computer more like human-like, I guess, more conversational rather than a machine. And for some people that might be appealing, but for me, I don't want my computer to be telling me just a moment rudely. I want my computer to do what I want it to do, not what it thinks it should do. And maybe that's just a matter of personal preference. Maybe I'm a control freak. I don't know. But I don't like being told just a moment by my computer. I wouldn't like being told that by a person. It's kind of like brushing somebody off. Like, oh, please wait, is much nicer. And You're probably realizing by now, if you've made it this far into the video, that I'm not Microsoft's biggest fan. Um, I, I, I don't really like their operating system because I have to, uh, or because of all the stuff that they've done with Windows 10, but I have to use it for work and other things. So, um, you can say my work or school owns it, and oh, that's cool. I actually didn't know you could do this in a home version of Windows 10. Who owns this PC? My work or school owns it. That's pretty useful. Um, you would think as an IT professional I would know that. I did not. Maybe it's new. I don't know. I just did a Windows 10 install the other day and I did not get this option. So we'll say I own it because in general, you're going to own the computer. And if you bought the professional version of Windows, you can go ahead and say I own it anyway, and then join it up to the domain later. That gives you a little more freedom of you can install programs and things, and then it'll be up to your domain administrator or IT administrator to determine what you can and cannot use at work, um, what programs work and what programs don't. So this is just a moment again. So they want you to log in with a live account, and I'm going to say skip this step. I think you probably should too. It is really hard to break into a Windows Live account. It's probably significantly more secure to use a Microsoft account. So you should hit create one and just sign up with an email, or yeah, an email address and a password that you're going to remember. And because it's extremely hard to break into somebody's Windows Live account, whereas if you just hit skip the step and create your own user account, we'll just say who owns this. Nickel Gandhi owns it. The password today for me is going to be, what do you think it is? Password. Re-enter password. Password. And oh yeah, if you type that, it's going to say you can't use it. So for some reason it'll let you use this. It'll let you space out the word. So the password is what I just said. That's my hint. Just a moment again. So nice. I have to cough again. Alright. We are setting things up for you. Who's setting things up for me? Like, this is a pre-configured operating system, so who is this we that's setting things up for me? This won't take long. This can actually take up to 15 minutes, so I'm going to shut my mouth again and speed up the video here. Okay, so that didn't actually take as long as I thought. Do you want to allow your PC to be discoverable by other PCs and devices on this network? If you're setting this computer up at home, you can click yes. If not, I would click no. If you're setting it up at work, you may ask your IT administrator if they want you to set it up or not. One thing I do, my work PC is discoverable by everybody on the network because I host printers on it. To me, that seems more secure than hosting them directly on the domain controller computer. That's what was done previously where I work, and that was a nightmare. But so I rehosted them to my PC, and eventually I'm going to set up a dedicated network hosting PC, just for hosting printers and other network devices. That way it can take some load off of the domain controller and it can focus on doing things like running the network and the DNS and the firewall. So network. So I'm just gonna say no. I'm gonna be on a NATed network anyway. So it shows as a wired network connection, but really it's connecting to a fake network adapter that's on my computer, and my computer's on Wi-Fi at my house. So the first thing I always do is customize my taskbar. So you can leave the task view button up if you want. I like to hide the search box. Um, and then when you hit start, you'll be greeted with all these colorful things and almost a full screen start menu. They said they brought back the regular start menu with Windows 10. Not so much. It says life at a glance, play and explore, like all this garbage that I just, I'm just trying to open a program and now I'm being distracted by inside a secret money-making machine like no other. Pope extends power to forgive abortion to all Roman Catholic priests. Like, come on. Like, I don't care about any of this. Well, that's probably good that the Pope did that finally. The Catholic Church is finally stepping into the 21st century, so that's good. Um, so this get office link, I'm gonna uninstall that. And the nice thing is a lot of this stuff is uninstallable. Now the Solitaire collection, Solitaire used to be a great thing that came with Windows. Now it's not. So I'm uninstalling news, uninstalling money. The store, I'm just gonna unpin from start. Unpin from start. Anything I can't uninstall, I unpin. And then everything else. I think I can get rid of OneNote. Oh, maybe not. Not yet. So you just right click and then click unpin. That's all you have to do here. Now you're left with all this empty space. You have the option, you can drag it over and try and resize it yourself. The easiest thing to do is just click out of the start menu and then open it back up. Oh, maybe not. Maybe it still leaves all that blank space now. It used to not. It used to automatically resize itself. But all you have to do is hover over the very edge, and it takes a little bit of practice. If you move the mouse too far one way or the other, you can't do it. So once you get these two little arrows to appear to resize, drag it to the left, and you can shrink your start menu down to a manageable size so it doesn't dominate your screen every time you click it. What used to be all programs is now all apps in Windows 10, and they have a bunch of garbage that comes pre-installed. Now, I think you can uninstall some of this stuff. Yeah, OneDrive, I'm uninstalling because I just don't use it. I use Dropbox. Oh, it says no programs are installed on this computer. Okay. And it comes most used apps. I haven't used any apps yet, so how are these my most used apps? Now, the calculator will come up quite a bit. Alarms and clock, no. Skype, probably never. I generally don't use Skype. I don't like it that much. I use Google Hangouts because it's browser-based and it's faster and it's just a lot cleaner. But, if you have to use Skype, that's fine. They actually do a halfway decent job of encrypting it. It is Microsoft, so they do put some protection protocols in place, but it's still not that hard to intercept. So the next thing I like to do, actually, let's not do that yet. Let's do this. Go into settings. Go to privacy. And then provide locally relevant content. Well, you just turned a bunch of stuff off, so how about we turn that off? It should have given you the option to turn all this garbage off already. So then you can manage my Microsoft advertising and other personalization info. That opens an internet browser, so we're not going to deal with that now. Location, it should be all off. Yep, everything's off. Camera, let apps use my camera. I don't have any apps that need to use my camera, but look at this. Microsoft Edge, by default, can use your camera. That means you could be visiting a website, and it could use your camera, with or without your consent. They're supposed to ask you, but there's lots of little tricks to get around that. They don't have to ask you. They can embed it in their own privacy policy to where it doesn't have to prompt you. Let apps use my microphone. That's going to be up to you. If you want Edge and Xbox to use your microphone, that's one thing. If not, then no. Getting to know you. Windows and Cortana can get to know your voice and writing. No thanks. Let apps access my name, picture, and other account info. No. Contacts. Apps that can use contacts. You may want this. You may not. That's up to you. Let apps access my calendar. Okay, all this is interesting. I don't use the SM. I don't have a Windows phone. Most people don't have a Windows phone. I wish they would get more popular because I actually kind of like the operating system, but they just don't have the application market. So let your apps automatically share. No, you don't want that. You don't want to automatically sync with devices because if somebody gets on your network, They can automatically sync with your computer and get all your information. Windows should ask for my feedback. Never. So you turned off the diagnostic and usage data when you installed it, but by default, when you get in, send your device data to Microsoft enhanced. Do you know what enhanced means? It means that it's quite a bit of data. You can send full, where you send absolutely everything that you do. Basic is the lowest option you can choose, and that's just because, Microsoft pretty much has to collect some data so that they can fix things that go wrong. So letting apps run in the background, you can choose what apps you want to run in the background. So going back out of privacy, let's go down to update and security. So now Windows Update. This is one thing that drives me crazy with Windows. You go into Windows Update, hidden down here under Advanced Options. It looks like a hyperlink that's going to take you to the internet, but really it just takes you to more settings. Automatic, that's not a bad option. Notify to schedule restart is a better option. What happened to me one time was in college. I was in the middle of an exam, an online exam, and I was halfway through it, and I was doing well actually. I was 50% of the way through the exam. I had 50% of the questions correct. So I'd answered every question correct so far. My computer restarted. I had to email my professor, and thank God he was gracious enough to let me take the exam over again, the exact same one. So I just went back and put in all my information. However, he did not get back to me until after the deadline for the exam, so he had to open up a new exam for me to take on the online service, which that was a pain in the butt for him and a pain in the butt for me because I didn't know whether or not I was going to pass or fail that exam. So they inconvenienced not just me but other people as well. So that's just ridiculous. So notify to schedule restart is probably your best option. Your computer's going to say, hey, it's time to restart. It's time to update, upgrade, whatever. And you can choose to restart now. You can choose to restart later. You can choose to schedule it for 3 a.m. when you're not using your computer. My computer's in my bedroom, so it's never on. At 3 a.m. I shut it down, or at least put it in hibernate mode every single day. Give me updates for other Microsoft products when I update Windows. That's up to you. If you have Office installed, you may want to check this, and it'll automatically update Microsoft Office as it does that, as it updates your computer. Defer upgrades. That is one thing that is just absolutely ridiculous. Here we'll go to the Learn About It page. So, okay, forget that. What deferring upgrades does, I think, is, let's see, hold on, let's make sure. Okay, I think it's just the ability to choose not to upgrade. So that's that. So now we've gotten into advanced options. We've chosen notify to schedule restart. We're not going to take updates for other products because I don't have any installed. If you have Office and some other stuff installed, you might want to check that. Defer upgrades, that's going to be up to you. I generally like to stay up to date because they do release security patches and things that will keep you safe and secure and keep your information good. You have the option to view your update history so you can see what updates were installed at which point, and then choose how updates are delivered. Updates from more than one place. That's right. Windows no longer just hosts their own servers. They do download Windows updates from apps from other PCs in addition to Microsoft. So that it's designed to improve speed using like peer-to-peer sharing, but it also eats up your bandwidth. So by default, it's on, and by default, it's set to install updates and apps from PCs on your local network and PCs from the internet. That means you're connecting to other people that you don't know to download these updates for Microsoft products. You want that off, so that it automatically grays out these options, and it does that. So what's going to happen is your updates are going to get downloaded a little bit slower. That's okay with me, as long as I'm not downloading things from other people, and as long as I'm not then sending things to other people, because the download part is nice. It speeds things up for you. There is some inherent risk, if somebody else's computer was infected with something, it could potentially infect your computer. However, that's fairly unlikely. The problem comes in when your computer starts sending updates to other computers. It's not as much of a security risk as it is an internet speed risk. What happens is it starts using your upload upstream bandwidth, which anybody who plays online games and things knows that if your upstream bandwidth sucks, then so does your gaming experience. Things like Netflix typically use a lot of downstream bandwidth and not much upload. However, if you have 5 computers on your home network that are all updating at the same time, which is pretty likely because they push out updates, and if your computers are on, they're going to try to update, um, then odds are all 5 computers are going to then be sending updates to other computers on your network and on the internet. And what that does is it eats up your bandwidth and slows you down in anything you're doing on the internet. So we don't want that option checked. And they hide this really well. You have to go into advanced options, and then you have to click choose how updates are delivered. They hide it really well. Now, you go down to privacy settings. Oh, this just takes you into the standard privacy options. Okay, that's fine. So, after update and security, you should now feel a little bit better. Windows Defender, you can use real-time protection. It's not bad. You can turn it off. However, they turn it back on automatically, so even if you don't want to use it, sorry about your luck. There's some way to disable it, but it's pretty complicated. I might cover it in a future video. Cloud-based protection. I don't want to send my info to Microsoft. I don't want to send sample submissions. You can add exclusions here, so say you want to install a program that uses a technique to do something that a known virus also uses. It doesn't mean that the program you're using is a virus. It just means that it's using the same technique that a virus uses. So Windows Defender might mistakenly detect a virus, even though it's not, which is okay. That's not bad. That doesn't mean that Windows Defender sucks. It means that they're trying to protect you and doing too good of a job, I guess. And so you can add an exclusion to a program if you want to. I have a few exclusions set up to network diagnostic programs that I use because they use different things to capture internet packets that malware also uses. So I have some exceptions set up. Backing up is always, 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 always a great idea. So if you can, add a drive and back up to it. Recovery, we'll cover that eventually as well. Activation, it's not activated yet. I have to cough yet again. So, oh, it looks like it already captured an OEM key that probably came on my image. So that's nice. I probably could activate this if I wanted to, but I really don't need to. This is developer options. You really don't need to worry about that. So going back out to settings, you can choose you can customize things, the background, the lock screen, all that. And that's all fine. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. Your computer is now, for all intents and purposes, usable. In my next video, I'm going to cover how to install Google Chrome, or actually we'll use Mozilla Firefox because it's more private. I'm going to cover how to install a third-party internet browser so that you're not stuck using Microsoft Edge or Internet Explorer, because both of those are terrible and extremely prone to attacks. So thank you guys for watching. If you have questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. In my next video, I'm also going to try and make this more full screen so it's easier to see what's going on, what I'm doing on screen. I know some of this stuff's probably hard to read. So that is it. Thanks again for watching, you guys, and stay tuned for the next video.